In the quiet tapestry of suburbia, a seemingly ordinary evening with friends takes an unexpected turn, unraveling a web of secrets, betrayal, and a love that transcends the boundaries of time. What unfolds will leave you questioning the very fabric of relationships. Welcome to the complex lives of Andy and Trina, where appearances are deceptively simple. We recently received a visit from a couple of our friends. We have known Ethan and Sophia for the most of our married life. Sophia formerly worked with my wife Emily at a large, well-known travel firm. The company has offices in multiple states. Ethan is a factory supervisor. I am an electrician who works at one of the local manufacturers. I've been working there since I returned from the service roughly 8 years ago. The four of us were watching an old film called Same Time Next Year, about a man and a woman who had been lovers for many years. They were both married, but not to each other. They continued to love each other and agreed to meet and be lovers for a week every year. Around the same time. The remainder of the time, they would lead normal lives with their husbands and families. Our women cried at the end of one of the novels because the pair had to return home to their family. What nonsense, I replied. They are both cheating on their families. And you both think it's quite sad. They should be discovered in the arms of their lovers and executed, was my response. Michael, how do you say that? Were they sincere lovers who only met once a year? Sophia replied. And I spoke out. So you're saying I can have sex with my ex-girlfriend once a year as long as Emily doesn't find out? Emily was upset at you, bastard. This is not about you or your old whore. Isabella, this is about people who are truly in love. I doubt you will ever grasp that. Ethan could sense that the tension was out of control. There is a timeout. It's simply a damn film. I don't believe we should all sit here and argue about a terrible movie. Ethan, I inquired whether this was your wife. Would you say it is okay to have an affair once a year? If I saw Emily doing that, I would throw her out on her ass. And Emily, you had no right to include Isabella in this. Just because she was my girlfriend before we met. Hell, I didn't mention anything about you or your former sweetheart, Benjamin. Look, things are getting out of hand. Let us just stop talking about the movie, Sophia said. No, I replied. I'd like to know Ethan's response. What would you do, Ethan? What if Sophia wanted to do what the woman in the movie did? Look, Michael, Sophia would not do that. I will not answer queries based on assumptions. Sophia is too lovely a person to jeopardize our marriage. Ethan responded. I cast a casual glance toward the girls, and for a brief instant, something happened between them. I didn't know what it was, but a shiver rushed down my spine. Sophia Rose sat on her husband's knee and kissed him. I suppose in their blissful heads, all was fine. Emily didn't grin at me. She got up and offered everyone another drink. I turned the movie off and the four of us proceeded into the kitchen to play cards. Men have always opposed women. I have to admit that the cold got me thinking. In the days that followed, I thought a lot. When I graduated from high school, I joined the army. I signed up for 3 years, 2 of them abroad. I attended prom with my girlfriend, Isabella. I truly believed I loved her. She was my first love and the first lady I ever made love to. I always imagined we were a fantastic couple who would be together forever. I believe I was simply too ignorant at the time. The last time we made love was a week before I had to go for duty. She never saw me go since she had to attend another ball. Her parents agreed that she may accompany me to the prom as long as she attended another prom. Or more specifically, a dance with Alexander. He liked weirdos and was in college. There was a celebration going on and Alexander invited Isabella to join him. Isabella made the mistake of discussing it with her mother. Don't get me wrong, I had nothing against Alexander except his desire to date my girlfriend. Unfortunately, his mother and Isabella's mother collaborated and attempted to convince them both to start dating. It saddens me to know Isabella would date Alexander, but she claims her mother told her she had to leave. But she pledged that she would not even kiss him. After being abroad for nearly 4 months, I received a letter from my sister, informing me that Isabella was pregnant. I could not believe it. Isabella has been writing to me since I departed for basic training. Why hadn't she told me about it? Surely she must have known, particularly if my sister Olivia knew. The only explanation was that Alexander had gotten her pregnant. I was infuriated. I wrote her a letter calling her every foul word I could think of. I was fighting in a war and my soon-to-be ex-girlfriend was having fun at home. Without telling me she was pregnant. After that letter, I never contacted her again. I told her not to spend her time writing to me because our relationship was finished. And I would put her letters in the trash without reading them. I told her that I hoped she, her illegitimate child, and Alexander had a happy life together. I received a letter from her but ripped it up and threw it away. I never heard from her again while I was gone. My sister informed me that Melanie Alexander married just before the kid was born. They resided at Alexander's parents' house, and Alexander was taking night classes at college to earn a degree. When I discovered I was pregnant, I became a hero. I was not brave. I was stupid. I didn't care whether I was killed or not. I was there as a superhero, saving the lives of numerous homeless children who were running around. I stopped caring about myself. I expected to arrive home in a body bag. I didn't care. I was simply a foolish soldier who decided his life was finished. I couldn't believe it when my tour of duty ended. Not only was I alive, but I had gotten numerous commendations for bravery. When I returned home, the community held a party in my honor. I saw a lot of friends and old schoolmates. Everyone greeted me with a handshake and a smile. I wondered if even one woman would attend the party. I saw her in the crowd, pushing a baby stroller with her husband. She turned and went away without speaking to me. I was not anticipating this after writing a letter calling her a slut and a bitch. It's funny how our emotions take over when we become furious. I was saddened after meeting her, but I still despise what she did to us. The gathering featured a lot of dancing. I met an old classmate sitting there and invited her to dance. It was Emily, one of the most attractive ladies in our class. She was a little out of my league at the time, dating a high school athlete. He was every woman's dream. At least, that is what the school rumors said. His name was Benjamin Carter. He was the entire school's quarterback and was most likely performing well. I heard he attended college after high school. Emily attended a local junior college, acquired a business degree, and worked for a major travel firm. Benjamin was residing in another state when I last heard from him. I imagine he split up with Emily, dated a wealthy woman, and married her. As we danced, we talked about former times. We quickly discovered that we had both been dumped by prior boyfriends. And after getting along well, we began dating. I must claim that our love lives were on the increase. After 6 months of living together, we married. I realized that was silly, but when problems are blamed on others, they tend to act differently. I acquired a job at a local factory and began my apprenticeship as an electrician. Emily and I actually got along very well. I believe we discovered that we appreciated each other and shared common interests. I could tell we loved each other, and in a way we did. The sex we had was fantastic. She was willing to try almost anything. It disturbed me a little that she learned so many of these things. When I asked her, she smiled and took out a stack of women's magazines that detailed many of the things we had tried. Our true feelings were closer to love, yet it was a better connection than many we knew. Life was good, and we spent time with a variety of people. One day, as we were walking with Ethan and Sophia, Emily asked if I wanted to attend a conference organized by her travel business. Michael, every 2 years, our travel agency hosts a convention in a different state, where we have offices. The last time it happened was in Ohio, and this time it was in Florida. It usually falls in the first or second week of May. They allowed us to bring our spouses, despite the fact that it was only a meeting. And they show us the latest tourist sites, and so. "Do you want to go?" asked Emily. "Honey, I don't want to use a week of vacation in May to attend meetings. Can any of the other staff in your office join you?" Sophia said. "I'll go." Ethan is unable to go and will not want to, usually Emily, Barb, another office girl, and I will go together. "That seems nice to me. I'll have a week to be thrilled for you before you return," I responded. Emily grinned as she and Sophia proceeded to the women's restroom. I never understood why ladies couldn't use the restroom alone when they left. Ethan and I were chatting about how fortunate we were not to have to attend such a boring session. When Emily returned from the seminar, we made love and sex. Call it what you will. It was some of the most enjoyable sex we'd had since getting married. Anyway, Emily became pregnant. I was a joyful father. My little girl was born just in time for Valentine's Day. I couldn't have imagined a nicer Valentine's Day present. We were now a family, and everything appeared to have improved for the better. Emily took 3 months off after giving birth to the baby. My sister Olivia offered to babysit, and everything turned out well. Baby! Chloe was my pride and delight after work. I enjoyed nothing more than hugging my newborn child and watching her play. The only thing that bothered my tiny universe was Emily and me bickering. For some reason, she was always throwing Isabella at me. Of course, I tossed Benjamin back at her. It was ridiculous to quarrel over two persons who were no longer in our life. However, when we are furious, we prefer to bring up the past. When I came home before Emily, I asked Olivia if she'd ever seen Isabella. Every now and again I see her at the supermarket. She has the prettiest little girl named Elizabeth. I know you don't want me to talk about her, but she adores her daughter, even if she doesn't appear pleased. I'm not sure why, Olivia said. So the next time you meet her, tell her I have a daughter too. That's rude, Michael. I am not saying anything like that. Emily arrived a few minutes later, and we realized we should shift the subject. For some reason, I couldn't simply forget about Isabella. Maybe because deep down, I still cared for her. Maybe it's because she was my first love. I wonder whether anyone else has comparable feelings about their first love. Do we ever relive them? Was Emily able to overcome Benjamin when it comes to first love? There is always something to ponder about. Time went swiftly, and Emily was leaving for another class. I really did not want to go, and neither did Ethan. Besides, I had a small 2-year-old daughter to care for. At least, that is how I described it to Emily. She and Sophia went out with another girlfriend. When she returned home, we had fantastic sex again. I considered telling her to go more often. Every time she returned home, the sex was always the finest. About 2 months later, she discovered she was pregnant. 7 months later, we had our second daughter. We named her Madison. Valentine's Day was becoming a very pleasant day in our household. Life continued on. We led ordinary lives and fought. The weird thing is that the longer we were married, the less we had in common. I frequently wondered if we would have split if not for my 2 lovely kids, Chloe and Madison. I finally received my electrician's license. It meant more time at work, but also more money. I used to spend my spare time with the girls. I realized they will soon grow up. I wished to spend as much time with them as possible. Emily and I got along, but it wasn't romantic. I know I keep repeating it, but I felt like we were simply performing our chores. It appeared that most of my friends had similar marriages. We all looked similar from the outside, yet behind closed doors. We were like 2 strangers living in the same house. I tried to joke and chat with Emily a few times, but it typically resulted in a fight. When she was arranging her next workshop, I informed her I would join her. I believed that showing greater interest in her career would strengthen our marriage. She was initially pleased that I was departing. But after a few days, she relaxed a little. A few days later, Ethan called and asked if I wanted to go to Canada to fish with him while the girls were at the seminar. I tried to explain to him that I had told Emily that I would accompany her. Believe me, Ethan, I would sooner fish than attend a travel class. Please tell Emily. I am sure she will understand. I've already reserved the cabin, or I'd modify the date. I go fishing every time Sophia attends a conference this year. One of the guys couldn't make it and there was a vacancy. Sophia was the one to advise I contact you. Please mention it to Emily. Ethan responded. When Emily arrived home, I was sitting on the floor playing with the girls. The first thing she did was discuss the fishing excursion. I believe Sophia had mentioned that. She said, "Michael, I know about the fishing trip to Canada. I think you should leave." Really? Emily, I promised you that I would accompany you to the seminar. Look, Michael, this is the first holiday you've taken since finishing your course and becoming an electrician. You have earned it. And I am not going to take it away from you and force you to go through a series of meetings. Call Ethan and ask him to make room for you in the car. She smiled at me. I could not believe how nice she was. I told her I'd get back to our typical sex adventures after she returned from her trip. I instantly got up and called Ethan. Emily also screwed me that night. Maybe she has changed. The fishing was excellent. It was exactly what I needed to get away and unwind for the majority of the week. My sister watched the kids while we were abroad. I begged her to keep them an extra night so Emily and I could enjoy some sexual pleasure. Olivia simply laughed and said she'd see me the next day. I had Emily laying in bed making love to her, more like rough sex. Minutes after she went through the door. I recall telling her that we were going to try to conceive a son that evening. I can't recall how many times we did it that night, but it resulted in our third pregnancy. William was born the following February. Our 3 children were born in February, all within a day of each other. Just after Michael Jr. was born, I underwent a vasectomy. I decided we had 2 daughters and a son and told Emily that 3 children was enough and that I would not use contraceptives. She did not appear happy or angry, of course. Why would she be happy? Surely she felt 3 children were plenty. About a year after Michael was born, Olivia informed me that Isabella wanted to speak with me privately. What about Olivia? What could she possibly desire after so many years? I do not know. She filed for divorce from Alexander, but I am not sure whether that is it. She appears afraid. I think she needs to speak with you. Do you understand Emily will be furious if I spoke to Isabella? She has never truly liked her. I probably elevated her too high years ago. I know I would be furious if I discovered Emily talking to Benjamin. Hell, I have no idea where he lives. Look, Michael, I do not want to interfere with your marriage. Perhaps you could phone her from my house or meet her there once. We do not talk about sex. Just talk. I have always liked her, and I know she would not ask you to talk unless it was absolutely necessary. The next day, I went to Isabella's house and Olivia's house. I felt like I was doing something wrong simply by coming there. One part of me kept asking me to go home while the other wanted to see Mel again. Now I was struggling with whether I was doing the right thing. I came to a halt in front of Olivia's house and sat for a moment, gathering my thoughts and pondering what to say. I felt like a scared child as I exited the car and approached to the door. I rang the doorbell. Any other moment I would have strolled right in. But today was different. Olivia came to the door and inquired why I rang the doorbell. I didn't have a response when I walked in. The stress may have been reduced with a knife. When I looked up, Isabella was as lovely as I remembered her standing in Olivia's kitchen. She cried and put her hands to her face. I was at a loss for what to do. I didn't expect to see her cry. I stepped over to her and took her hands, seeing the tears trickle down her cheeks. She spoke first. "I'm so sorry, Michael. I'm so sorry," she said it repeatedly. She was shaking, so I wrapped my arms around her to soothe her. I had no idea why she was acting this way, but it was getting to me. 10 years ago, I would have been pleased to see her cry after what she had done to me. But things were different today. Maybe time heals old wounds. I held her in my arms and smelled Isabella like I remembered. "It's all right, Mel. That happened 10 years ago. We are both moving forward with our lives. I told you no. You don't understand. I promised Alexander that I wouldn't see you again. That was our pact. But I needed to shatter it. I had to break it for my little kid, Elizabeth." Mel said, "You are correct, Mel. I do not comprehend. What exactly are you trying to tell me?" Mel calmed down slightly, and Olivia handed her a cup of tea. We were sitting at the table when Olivia suggested we go into the other room and leave Mel and me alone. "No, Olivia. Please remain. I think you should hear this as well. Elizabeth, my tiny baby, has severe jaundice as a result of liver failure. She will undergo a liver transplant if a suitable donor is identified. The doctor stated that family members are preferred, and that only a portion of the liver should be given to grown-ups. It will eventually grow back. My concern is that I am not a match, and we do not have any other appropriate family members." "How about Alexander?" Olivia asked. "Has he undergone a test? How about his family members?" Mel glanced at me and stated, "Alexander is not Elizabeth's father. It's you, Michael." She began crying again. I felt overwhelmed. I had so many questions, and I had no idea where to start. "What?" I asked. "Why didn't you tell me she was my baby? My God, Mel, I can't believe you could conceal anything like that. When you discovered I was pregnant. You didn't give me an opportunity to explain. You texted me, calling me a bitch and a whore, among other things. You said you didn't want to see me anymore. I wrote you a letter explaining everything. But you never wrote back. My God. I was enraged when I received the letter and threw it away. I can't believe I was that foolish. I've been upset at you for years. Why did you marry Alexander? Does he realize Elizabeth might not be his child? Mel grinned slightly. You're so crazy. That's one of the things I've always appreciated about you. Of course, Alexander knew Elizabeth was not his child. We never had sex before we married. I informed him that you were the father and that you wanted nothing further to do with me. That is what you told me. Alexander genuinely cared about me. He is indeed a nice individual, but he also feels proud. He consented to marry me on the condition that I reveal that he is the father of my child. Honestly, I had no idea what else to do. You wanted nothing more to do with me. I was an 18-year-old girl. Alexander and I got married, but I had to pledge to never see you again. And inform everyone that Alexander was Elizabeth's father. I still love you. Alexander was aware of this. He is a good dude. We got along well until Elizabeth was diagnosed with liver difficulties a few months ago. You are her last hope. I had to decide whether or not to inform you. Of course. Alexander stated that if I told you Elizabeth was your child, we couldn't stay married because his relatives and friends would discover the truth. But I had no choice. My child's life is at jeopardy, and she is my top priority. Will you take the test to see if you are eligible to donate? She had tears of hope in her eyes. This was not a trivial decision. My marriage was also probably on the line. I'm not sure how Emily will react. I am donating part of my liver to Mel's kid. I knew I had to do the right thing regardless of the circumstances or consequence. Mel, of course I'm going to take the test to save Elizabeth's life. Tell the doctor to schedule an appointment for me, and I will be there. All three of us were in tears. Mel came over and hugged me. She said, I love you so much. Always have. Always will. Mel immediately grabbed up the phone and called the hospital to set up my checkup. I was scheduled for Monday. I believed I'd have about a day to tell Emily the news. I suppose I was actually between a hammer and an anvil. I believed Mel when she said Elizabeth was my daughter. When I took the test, I'd know for certain. And she would gain nothing and lose everything by lying to me. I hugged Jan and Mel and returned home, perplexed. Discovering that Elizabeth was my daughter knocked me off guard. I had a 10-year-old child, and I had never met her. The woman I had always adored was back in my life. My wife loathed my ex-girlfriend, and I had 3 other children at home. If I hadn't been so young, I would have probably had a heart attack. I was playing with the kids when Emily arrived home. It was difficult to know what mood she was in because it shifted so frequently. I decided to wait a little bit before speaking with her. I knew she was about to cry, and I did not want the kids to see it. They'd seen their mother, and I argue far too often. On Sunday, I took the kids to my mother's home. I told Emily that I'd be back in a few minutes to discuss something with her. When I returned, she jumped on me. What is so vital that we can't discuss it in front of the kids? Emily asked. I spoke with Isabella yesterday, and you and I have a lot to discuss. Emily interrupted me. What? You went to see her. Why? She misses her home and asked you to help her. That is enough, Emily. This is quite important, and I need to speak with you about it. Mel's daughter suffers jaundice and needs a liver transplant, or she will die. What has this got to do with us? I feel bad for the girl, but there is nothing we can do. Why would she want to tell you this? Emily seemed more worried, but I knew she was wondering why Mel had phoned me. Mel said the girl requires a portion of an adult's liver to survive. And the best odds of a match are with family members. Don't tell me she says you are the baby's father. Do you believe her? Yeah. She called to let me know I am the father of a young girl. Honestly, Emily, I had no idea the tiny kid needed a transplant, and I'll see if I can help her. I have an appointment tomorrow to determine whether I'm a suitable fit. How about our family? Have you thought about them? What if anything goes wrong and you need time to recover? Have you thought about us? Emily seems more enraged than concerned. She had the right to be outraged. It was simply poured on us. But the fact is that Elizabeth required assistance to survive. Look, the realization that I can save a small girl's life, especially because she could be my daughter, leaves me with no alternative. I have to do it, regardless of what you say. You are a shithead. You prioritized your girlfriend and her daughter before your own family. You're a terrible excuse for a guy and a father. I'll imagine you said that in anger. If our children required a transplant, I would support them. You are already aware of this. The test results will tell me tomorrow whether Mel's girl is my daughter. And if she is, I will do everything possible to save her. I'll be active in her life, whether you like it or not. I only hope you can stop hating and attempt to understand. For your information, Andrew, I am against it. You may adore her, but she is not linked to me, and I do not care what happens to her. I have my own children to think about. And if she survives, I do not want you to bring her into my house. You're a horrible bitch. I cannot believe what I saw in you. I'll aid this girl if I can. Let's see what occurs next. Are you concerned about the girl or her mother? You never got over her, right? You pathetic, Andrew. Very pitiful. Go to your former lover and donate your liver to her daughter. Maybe she'll accept you back once I kick your ass out. I will be observing you and gathering proof. You'd better watch your step. I picked up the children and took them home. Emily arrived later and hardly talked to me. I knew life was going to be awful from now on. I was checked in and told to wait an hour while they conducted tests. I went to Elizabeth's room. Mel was sitting there talking to her small kid. Elizabeth was quite attractive. She looked a lot like her mother. She was 10 years old. But she was underweight due to liver issues. She appeared no older than my 6-year-old daughter, Chloe. I moved over to the bed, which shocked Mel a little. She swiftly turned around to see me. She had the most stunning smile on her face. "Thank you for coming," she said. I looked at Elizabeth. "Are you my guardian angel?" she asked me. Mom stated my guardian angel would be coming today to help me get what I need. "Are you him?" I smiled at her. "I'm not an angel. But I'm here in the hopes of being able to help you. I will know in a few minutes. You're Michael, right? Mom told me I was named after you. Did you know that? Do I have to tell you that? Mom and I talk all the time. She and I share secrets. When I get better, I'll share them with you." Mom said. "It's fine. Although this condition makes me appear youthful, I am 11 years old and quite intelligent. Do you have any additional children?" The way she phrased it made me curious. Did she understand the truth about me? She was talking about the other kids, right? She sounded intellectual, but her body appeared vulnerable. God, I pray I am ideal for her. "Yes, honey, I have 3 kids. At home, all younger than you. When you get better, I'll bring them to you." That would be excellent. I like children. I don't have any brothers or sisters to play with, so perhaps I could borrow yours? She smiled. I could tell it was feeble with tubes coming out of it. "Honey, close your eyes and relax for a while. You need to regain your strength." "I'll keep Michael company," Mel explained. Elizabeth said, "I'm sure you will, Mommy." I smiled and dozed off. Does she know who I am, Mel? How much does she actually know? I asked. Mel smiled. That was so great to see. Elizabeth and I share secrets, as she told you. She will tell you what they are once she feels better. Until then, you'll have to guess. Mel walked me back to the laboratory. We were requested to wait at the doctor's office. He wanted to talk with us. "Mr. Connors, you are an excellent fit for Elizabeth. The ideal match would be a child. But we can remove portion of your liver and implant it in the female. Doctor, she is my daughter. I know that now. I'd like you to name her my daughter." The doctor smiled. "Mr. Connors, your daughter has a chance to fully recover. It may take several months for her body to fully absorb the implant, but she is young and should recover quickly. What about me, doctor? What will I go through? You will be put under anesthetic while we remove a portion of your liver. You'll wake up feeling like you've been run over by a truck. If everything goes well, you'll be on bed rest for a month and won't be able to return to work for at least 6 weeks. Over the next year, your body will heal on its own. Are you kidding, Doc? No. You wanted to know the truth, and I believe I will share it with you. Your daughter is extremely lucky to have you in her life. Frankly, I don't think she could have survived another month. Now, for the terrible news. Bad news? Did you just tell me good news? Did the doctor leave? Yes, that was wonderful news. The bad news is that we must operate as soon as possible. I hoped you could come in tomorrow morning for surgery. Tomorrow? Doc, let us start on Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll have to come into work and take sick leave. I need you to furnish me with all of the appropriate documents, especially since I'll be gone from work for a bit. Agreed. Wednesday. I will have my secretary give you the proper documents. See you on Wednesday, Mr. Connors. Please call me Michael, Doc. It looks like we'll be seeing a lot of each other. Mel clutched my hand as we headed back to Elizabeth's room. Her eyes welled up with tears of excitement. I don't know what to say to Michael. You're putting your life on wait for a few months to support my kid. I'm also doing this for my daughter. I can't live with myself unless I help her. As for you and me, Mel, I'm not sure what will happen next. I am married and I would never cheat on my wife. I've always loved you, too. But we all have our own lives today. No matter what happens, I want to be friends with you. And I want Elizabeth to be part of my life. I leaned over the bed to kiss Elizabeth's forehead. Sleep peacefully, my lovely daughter. Daddy loves you. As I left the hospital after being discharged, tears welled up in my eyes. I went to work to inform my employer what had transpired. He expressed amazement. He had no idea any of my children had been sick. I didn't bother trying to explain it to him, instead thanking him for his assistance in getting my papers and insurance organized. He claimed my work will be right next to me once the doctor approved me to return. When I arrived home, Emily was waiting for me. So is this your baby? Yes. Elizabeth is my daughter. The procedure is scheduled for Wednesday. I've already taken care of the insurance and spoken with work. I will be out of work for at least 6 weeks, but I will be paid sick leave. So are you really going to do this? What about your children? Are you planning to inform them about your second child? Our kids are 2, 4, and 6 years old. If I told them I could save another child's life, they'd understand that I was doing the right thing. They know that I will always be there for them. I'll chat to them tonight and explain why they won't see me for a time. Olivia stated she will assist you in every way she can till I return home. Yes, you are fantastic. Sister Olivia will be present. I know. She can be a pain in the ass at times. Do not mention that. Don't be so foolish as to say negatively of my sister. She is like a second mother to our children, and you know it. If you don't need our assistance, simply phone her and tell her what a pain in the ass she is. I am confident she will leave you alone. Emily fell silent and entered the other room. I summoned the 2 females over to speak with them. Michael Jr. also came in, but had no idea what we were talking about. I informed the kids they had an older sister from another mother who was terribly sick. I did my best to convey to them what was going on. The girls were almost in tears. Save her, Daddy. You must assist her if you can. Chloe responded. I will, sweetheart. I won't be home for a few days till I'm feeling better. I will call and talk to you every day till I get home. When your sister is better, I will take you to see her. Olivia will assist look after you while I am away. I want you to be good to her and Mommy, okay? We'll be okay, Daddy. We promise. On Wednesday, I visited the hospital before entering the room. I gazed at Elizabeth for a moment. She was nervous but smiling. "Hello, Michael. I'm glad you could make it. I could not have done it without you." I believe she had a little of me in her. She was a nice, compassionate girl. I had only known her for a few days, but I was quite proud of her. I looked back to see Mel standing there, shivering anxiously. "It's going to be fine, Mel. Elizabeth is ready, and so am I." She leaned forwards and kissed me. I mean, a genuine love kiss. "Thank you, Andrew. I will never forget what you did for our baby." I turned back at Elizabeth and realized she had heard what her mother had just said. She simply smiled at me as if to say, "Thank you, Daddy." I went to my room and started preparing for surgery. When I awoke from the surgery, I recalled the doctor telling me how I would feel. He was not lying. I felt horrible. A nurse walked in, smiled at me, and performed her little tests. I informed her how I felt, and she raised the painkiller dosage. I looked around the room, but no one was present. I knew Mel would be with her daughter, but I hoped Emily would reconsider and come to me. I fell asleep and awoke to the sound of conversations. It was my sister, Olivia, and Mel. "Hello, little brother. How do you feel? You look like trash." She laughed. We were continuously teasing each other. She was as good a sister as anyone could have. She was married, but did not have children. I'm not sure why. We just didn't discuss it. "Olivia, please do not make me laugh. It hurts like hell." "How did it go? Is Elizabeth going to be okay?" Mel claims it's too early to tell, but the doctor seems optimistic. He claimed the surgery went nicely. All we have to do now is pray that her body accepts the liver. He will steal my liver. I do not donate my body parts to just anyone. I began laughing. That hurts. I can't laugh without hurting Michael. I am eternally grateful to you for what you accomplished. You saved my daughter's life. Our daughter's life. Despite the fact that we are no longer married, she is my daughter. I look forward to seeing her on a frequent basis. My kids can't wait to meet their big sister. What about Emily? I tried talking to her several times, but she constantly walked away. I just wanted to be friends, but she said no way. I hope we could all be friends, but it doesn't appear that will happen. I sincerely hope Elizabeth becomes closer to your other children. Emily never told me she was speaking to you. Never. I'm bringing my children to see Elizabeth. They informed me they could not wait to see her. They also asked that she get better. I assured them I'd do that. The three of us talked for a long before the doctor came to see me. Olivia and Mel said they would see me later. I spoke with the doctor, who briefed me about both mine and Elizabeth's health. Despite feeling terrible, I called home to talk to the kids. Emily picked up the phone and asked how I was doing. "Okay. I guess I was just calling to say hello to the children. I didn't want to chat much right now, especially with Emily. So I'll probably pop by tomorrow after work. I've been too busy today to go out," Emily commented. She handed the phone to the youngsters, and they all began conversing on the inside phone. I said I'd talk to them the next day, but I just wanted to let them know I was fine and missed them. "How is the girl, Daddy? Is she better?" Chloe asked. "As far as I know, she is feeling better. I need some rest, gals. So kiss Michael for me, and we will talk tomorrow. I love and miss you all so much. We adore you, too." The next day, Daddy by Emily paid me a visit. She inquired about how I was feeling and how Elizabeth was doing. She didn't seem too bothered. She appeared to be asking me more because she believed she should. She spent the majority of her time informing me about a special meeting in Chicago that she might need to attend. It was about a month away, so by then I'd be out of the hospital and able to monitor the kids. She stated my sister Yang was with our kids right now and could come see me. Her visit made me wonder if she wished to remain married to me. I had nothing to refer to, but I got a feeling she was hiding something. Not that I possessed a sixth sense. Just a feeling. She kissed my lips lightly and said she'd be back in a few days. Then he got up and departed. After a while, Mel walked in to visit me. And the atmosphere in the room changed. I knew I'd married the wrong woman, but it was too late. I made my bed and now I'm going to do everything I can to make my marriage work for the benefit of my children. I would do everything for them, even if it meant living in a loveless marriage. I did call my children every night and spoke with them as promised. It was enjoyable to hear them dispute about who should talk to me. Even little Michael had his turn on the phone. At least his first words were "Dada." The following few days went without much happening. Emily came by, as did my sister Olivia. Of course, Mel came by all the time. She basically resided in the hospital, between seeing Elizabeth and myself. I knew I'd miss her once I got out of the hospital, but I needed to attempt to save my marriage. A few more days passed, and I received a few visitors from work. And, of course, my mother stated she was there for me when they pulled me out of the ICU, but I recovered quickly. Mom was there for me every day following the procedure. She never spoke about it. Elizabeth just assured me I did everything correctly. I could tell from the look on her face that she too welcomed Elizabeth as her grandchild. She did not need to tell me that. This is how grandparents talk about their grandchildren. I asked Mel about Alexandra and her probable divorce. He is moving to California. He's always been a geek, but not a bad one. He's a fantastic person, and I'll miss him. We promised to remain friends. He enjoys computers and says he has a job in Silicon Valley. He'll be a good husband to the right woman someday. It's simply not me. What do you do for a living, Mel? How will you survive? As previously stated, Alexander is a computer guru. He installed my PC for me. I run a home-based business that bills for multiple medical facilities. I set my own work schedule as long as the assignment is completed on time. Alexander and I agreed that he would leave me the house and furnishings. Of course, I will still pay. We each have our own automobile, so this isn't an issue. We'll split our savings once the credit cards are paid off. There will be no support. It would be inappropriate for him to pay for someone else's child if we were not married. Her eyes moistened. It was a show of respect for Alexander. Later that evening, Alexander came to see me. I was extremely startled. I did not know what to say. I hope he doesn't want to fight because he would undoubtedly win. Michael, I just stopped by to thank you. Thank you. I do not comprehend. You saved Elizabeth's life. You will understand that she is the sweetest girl and I shall miss her. I am leaving for California tomorrow. I just spoke with the doctors and Elizabeth's body appears to have accepted your liver. She's starting to regain her color. Alexander, maybe you and Mel can work something out. I know she respects you. Let's not be joking around, Michael. If she loved me as much as she loves you, I would have happily stayed with her. I played second fiddle for over 10 years, hoping she would abandon you. However, she has never done so and is unlikely to do so. We had a good marriage. But I want my wife to love me, not simply respect me. Can you get that? We do not fight and we accomplish everything together. But her heart belonged to you. I can't live like this any longer. Especially since everyone will know. Elizabeth is not my biological daughter. Take care of my family. Do not worry about me. Computers are my first love and I will be in Silicon Valley. Thank you, old boy, for giving Elizabeth another opportunity in life. You're a great person. Alexander, I am deeply sorry. I honestly don't know what to say. How about Elizabeth? I know she'll miss you. You are the only father she has ever known. I'd have to say that our connection with Mel was built on respect. We determined from the start that my name would not appear on the birth certificate alongside my father's. She inserted your name and stated that you were overseas. Therefore, your signature was not required. I know Mel and Elizabeth have been conversing. And they have some secrets. I believe she knows about you and Mel. I am confident she will miss me as much as I miss her. That is why she needs you in her life. She needs a father figure in her life. Why can't he be her real father? Thank you again. Take care of them. They'll need you both before I can say anything. Alexander turned to walk out the door. I laid there reflecting on how complicated my life had become. At home, I had a wife, a happy marriage, and 3 lovely children. On the other side were an ex-girlfriend and her daughter. I'd just donated a kidney to God. I considered my situation to be less than ideal. Soon I was able to return home. I wasn't allowed to lift anything more than £5. My girls understood. But Michael didn't know any better and preferred to be held in my arms. At least he was content to crawl in next to me and sit on the bed or couch. My daughters were like 2 little mothers waiting at my heels. Emily departed for work every day. And when she returned home, we were cordial to one another. Olivia came over every day for a few hours to check if I needed anything. She was quite helpful to me. I also talked to my mother every day to keep her informed about my health. She took my 3 children every few days so I could rest. I was recovering nicely, but I didn't want to overwork myself. I did not call Mel immediately. During my first week at home, Olivia would visit the hospital or contact Mel to see how Elizabeth was doing. She was supposed to stay in the hospital for another week. The doctor was shocked by how well she was doing. Her skin tone had returned and she was gaining weight. He was quite hopeful about her situation. My daughters were eager to meet Elizabeth once she was taken home to heal. I was still not authorized to drive, so we all got into the van and Olivia drove us to Mel's. I wasn't sure about driving there, but with Olivia and the kids I didn't think it would be an issue. The house was magnificent. It was nicely equipped and clean. I informed the kids that Elizabeth was a sick girl and they should keep quiet. Mel smiled as she spotted my children. She introduced herself and invited them to call her Mel. She escorted the 2 girls into Elizabeth's bedroom where she presented them to a smiling Elizabeth. I was surprised to see her. She no longer had jaundice, a yellowish tint caused by liver disorders, and instead had a radiant, clean complexion. "Hello," Elizabeth said. "I'm your bigger sister." "Well, big sister anyway." She grinned as she saw Chloe was nearly as tall as herself. "Don't I have a younger brother?" "Where is he?" Elizabeth asked. Olivia entered the room cradling tiny Michael in her arms. "You were seeking for this little guy?" Olivia said. I could not believe what Elizabeth said next. "I understand. I'll never forget this. What comes out of kids' mouths?" "Hello, my beautiful brother from the other mother. I'm Elizabeth, your big sister." Michael smiled. Olivia laid him on the bed and he crept over to sit beside his new big sister. Tears filled my eyes. I couldn't help it. But I was not alone. When I looked over, Mel and Olivia were also smiling. I now knew Elizabeth had been notified that I was her biological father. We spent the following few hours with the children, allowing them to enjoy each other's company. The kids were sad when we told them we had to leave because Elizabeth needed a rest. The girls refused to leave unless I promised they could come back. Of course. When we were leaving, I told them they'd see each other often. I realized I'd have to pay for it. That night, when I told Emily we were heading to Mel's, as soon as Emily arrived through the door, the girls informed her that they had met their older sister today. At least Emily didn't start yelling at me before the kids went to bed. They called me any name they could think of. I tried to convey that nothing had occurred and Olivia was with me. Of course, Emily accused me of having Olivia lie for me in order to hide the affair. My God, Emily, why can't you believe we can simply be friends? I've never cheated on you and never will. My family means too much to me to have an affair. And then you accuse Olivia of lying for me. Believe me, Olivia would never tolerate cheating, even from her brother. I told you that the youngsters wanted to get to know each other. And have fun. Why are you looking so down? Not everyone intends to cheat on their spouse. I promise I won't. She yelled some more, then we went to bed. We still slept together, and I attempted lying close to Emily, but she refused. Everything gradually healed. The doctor instructed me to wait another month before returning to work. I called the plant and told them about it. Emily reminded me about her trip to Chicago in a few weeks. She'd be gone for a full week. I assumed I wouldn't have any problems with the babysitter. Now I could pick up Michael. And he was pleased. The following week, our friends Ethan and Sophia came over to see a movie and play cards. The girls choose the movies at the same time next year. As I previously stated, we will bring you up to speed from the beginning of this story. Something occurred between Sophia and Mel. I kept thinking about how they looked at each other. I noticed Emily mutter something to Sophia before she and Ethan departed. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what. Things had not been going well between us since the surgery. We had not made love in a long time. I decided to try it. At first, she pushed my hand away. But I persisted. "Are you ready?" she asked. "You're going away for a week, and I don't want to wait for you to return." Finally, we had sex. I often wonder why her lovemaking does not extend into our daily life. Only during sex does she appear affectionate. The next morning, she left for work, and I cleaned the house. Something I didn't usually assist with. There were folded clothing on the dresser, which I was storing in a drawer. I noticed a package of birth control pills when she first started using them. I underwent a vasectomy over a year ago. I took them out and placed them on the dresser. I opened them to check if she had stolen them. I knew I was going to ask her about it tonight. I hope she has a valid reason to utilize birth control. Our marriage was already on the rocks. I searched around for anything else that could be entertaining, but there was nothing. We both rarely used computers at home and shared the same email account. There was nothing extraordinary about it. I examined a few of our phone bills, and everything seemed great. Maybe I was becoming suspicious when Emily arrived home that evening. I asked her about birth control tablets. "Why were you going through my drawers? You had no rights, really? I live here just like you. I didn't peek after having fantastic sex last night. I decided to assist clean the house and was about to put your clothing away when I discovered the tablets. Are you going to explain why you're taking them after I got a vasectomy? You are a shithead. You claim to trust me, but then you give me the third degree. I'll tell you why I need to take the medicine. I went to the doctor several months ago because I was having period troubles. She encouraged me to take the medication to regulate the timing of my cycles and make them more consistent. Why didn't you let me know you were experiencing troubles with a woman? What would you have done? Would you have prescribed drugs or advised me to see a doctor as I did? Furthermore, you were overly concerned about your other family members at the moment. I didn't want to trouble you about my health difficulties. This is inappropriate, Emily. You are my wife. You mean a lot to me. I apologize for doubting you, but I became concerned when I noticed the pills. I was terrified. I was concerned you were having an affair. I apologize. Okay. Now you understand why I take the medicines. Not because I want to, but because my doctor has instructed me to. After talking with her, I felt better. I must admit that I had my concerns. But I wanted to believe her. On Thursday night, we had sex again. It was a near instant repeat of that day. Friday morning, she was in a good mood. She kissed the children and me goodbye before departing for Chicago. I begged her to return soon so we could finish what we had begun. On Saturday, I went to the kids to see Mel and Elizabeth. We spent the entire day together as a huge, joyful family. I wish my life with Emily was the same instead of constantly fighting. Melanie and I had some sentiments, but we both agreed that it was best not to act on them. On Sunday, I was watching TV with the kids when we got a knock on the door. I opened it and discovered 2 old high school friends. April, Mandy, Emily, and I had all graduated. They were gathering information for our upcoming reunion. They were writing down as many data as possible so that they could make a book and distribute it to all of our former classmates. They obtained our address from Isabella. I forgot she had handed it to me. I brought the women into the house and served them everyone tea. We completed all preliminary preparations. How is it going? So what's new? April spoke first. So, Michael, tell me what's new in your life and where you are working on our book. I shared a few details about how I entered the service and where I was currently working. I wasn't sure if Isabella had told them about the operation, so I left it out for now. Then they questioned me about Emily. Emily worked for a travel agency, which I told them about. Mandy seemed astonished. My God, this is very strange. What's unusual about working for a travel agency? I asked. It's only that her former lover, Benjamin Carter, works at the same travel firm. But in Chicago, it's so odd. Old buddies working for the same employer in different states. How do you know this, Mandy? Have you spoken to him? No, we spoke with his mother last week. She told us all about him, including how wealthy and powerful he is. I remember in high school, all the girls wanted to date him. His mother says he's still in good form and works out every day. Can I have a copy of his profile? I think Emily would want to contact him. I didn't need that knowledge, Emily. I wanted it for myself. I could smell a rat. Extremely big rat. I received the impression Emily knew everything about Benjamin, although only first-hand. Sure, Michael, I have an extra copy of his profile, but you'll probably have a difficult time reaching him. Why? His wife is an Illinois state senator. As Benjamin's mother mentioned, you'll probably need an inspection to see them. Mandy laughed. I laughed with them. I was on fire inside after getting Benjamin's character reference. I said goodbye to my former classmates. I considered calling Ethan to see if he knew anything about Benjamin. But I decided against it. I did not want to accuse Sophia in case I required information from her. Instead, I called the trainer's room in Chicago. The phone rang 5 times before Emily answered. She appeared to be breathing heavily. Hi, she said. Okay, hello, darling wife. How are you doing this wonderful morning? Why do you call me Michael? We advised you to never call unless it was an emergency. Are the kids fine? The kids are fine, but their father is a little angry. Why did you call Michael? I do not have time for your foolish games. It is Sunday. You don't hold meetings on Sunday, right? I forgot. You are now having one of your covert meetings with Benjamin. Did I interrupt your sex? I'm so sorry. That is enough, Michael. I've had enough of your crap. We'll discuss it when I go home next week. You foolish bitch. I hear him in the background. I am going to hang up the phone. Michael, we'll talk about it when I get home. Talk to me right now or I'll burn the house down. I could hear Benjamin and Emily whispering in the background. That stupid asshole didn't have the sense to lower his voice. Why don't you tell your boyfriend to shut up or I'll complete the conversation with his wife? Senator, please. Michael, do not call her. I overheard her say something to Benjamin. Benjamin, take your hands off me. He knows you are here. We can't hide it any longer. He'll call your wife if I don't talk to him right now. How long have you seen him? Because you will not respond to me. I'm estimating roughly 7 years now. It's no surprise that you want to have sex when you get home. You could not get rid of him. Or perhaps you intended to make a baby with him and hide it by sleeping with me. Please, Andrew, I can't think right now. Please let us chat later. Whose children am I raising? My own or your lover's? Please answer me. Whose children am I raising? Please, Andrew. I do not. No. I honestly do not know. Wow, honesty is not one of your characteristics. I may have to sue my lover for 6 years child support. I'm confident the senator will want to help my children. Please do not mention that. How the hell am I supposed to speak? I've been as open and honest with you as possible. I pledged not to cheat on you, and I never did, even if you blamed me for our entire marriage. On the other hand, you've been having fun with that asshole behind my back for at least 7 years now. How the hell am I meant to tell you this? Michael, I have no idea what to say right now. We'll chat once I come home. The only thing we'll do when you go home is file for divorce and get the kids tested so your damn lover can claim father's rights. Now go back to enjoying your boyfriend. Just so you know, if the kids pass the test and prove to be mine, I will take them away from you. No, you cannot take my children away from me. I hung up the telephone. I wanted additional information. I called Ethan. He was returning from a fishing excursion. He was normally gone for just a few days. Ethan, Michael is here. I misplaced the trainer's room number and assumed you might have Sophia's. He gave it to me and asked if there were any issues. No, not an issue. I just wanted to ask her something. Okay. Thank you, Ethan. I dialed Sophia's room, and she answered. Hello, Sophia. It's Michael. Michael, Emily is not here right now. I can get her to call you. Cut the bullshit, Sophia. I know exactly where she is, who she is with, and what she is doing. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I knew she was trying to call my bluff, but I wasn't lying. Room 804 is located at Carter. Please answer certain questions, or I will ask your husband. Ethan, are you attempting to blackmail me? Blackmail? Hell no. I just figured that if Emily had an affair for 7 years and you covered for her, you might have earned a little more money. Either you tell me what I want to know, or I tell Ethan about Emily. And you can explain why you were hiding it. What would you like to know, Michael? So you have sex with Ethan, too. You have an ex-boyfriend, too? Please don't tell Ethan I did it the first 2 times. I felt so bad about it that I no longer stay in the same room as Emily. It was a huge error, which I genuinely regret. Who was that with? Sophia, please, Andrew. I told you I did it, and I apologize for it. It was a friend of Benjamin. I want to forget about it. Do not tell Ethan. Tell me what you know about Emily and Benjamin, and I swear not to tell Ethan about our talk. Okay. I trust you. You have no option, but I keep my promises. Emily discovered that Benjamin worked at the same agency. She began having an affair with him. As far as I know, it only happened at these lectures. What she had said about him. And I'll know if you're lying, and our contract will be cancelled. She stated that she has always loved him, and that marrying you was a mistake. I'm sorry, Michael, but you expressed a desire to know the truth. She could hardly wait to attend the lectures with him. They rarely attended meetings and spent the majority of their time in their hotel, only going out to supper. How about my children, Sophia? Tell me everything. You know. My God, Michael. I'm not sure what to say. She hoped that all 3 children were Benjamin's. It was her method of getting back at you. It did not make any sense. I never understood why Mom asked you to raise Benjamin's children. So my kids are Benjamin's? I do not know. She had always hoped they would be, but as far as I know, she doesn't know. Needless to say, Marie, Emily, and I are getting divorced. And I'm going to have the children tested to see who would support them. I will maintain my word to you and not inform Ethan about our chat in any other context. I won't lie to him. Friends, I never want to see you in my home again. I needed to talk to someone. I really wanted to talk to Mel, but I didn't think it was a good idea. I didn't know how Emily would handle the issue. The last thing I wanted to do was include Mel in the plot. I contacted my sister Jan and asked her to come over. She heard the urgency in my voice and said she'd be right over. Jan and I discussed it and considered several scenarios. I was unsure what to do next. I now see why the provisional guilty plea exists. I'd kill Zach and Emily if they came through my door right now. Jan and I agreed to call Zach's wife. She has earned the right to know what kind of bastard she married. I checked Zach's profile, and it had his home phone number. I called, but only got the receptionist. I asked to speak with Mrs. Carter. There was a pause. Then they told me to wait a minute. Who is it? The woman inquired. I am Andrew Connors from Ohio. And you are Mrs. Carter? Yes, it is correct. But I'm Senator Conroy. My husband's name is Carter. Well, Senator, your spouse is currently at the hotel having pleasure with my wife. I thought you'd like to know. Damn him. He said he is no longer seeing that married woman. Is her name Emily? Yes, her. Emily Connor is from Ohio. His high school girlfriend would eventually become my ex-wife, Mr. Connors. Thank you for informing me of the problem. I can't discuss right now, but my people will call you within the next few days. I don't want to speak to your people. If you like, I may talk to you in person. I do not need anything from you. I just wanted you to be informed of your husband's adultery. I hung up. Obviously, she was aware of her husband's adultery. I was wondering if Emily was his only girlfriend. Now I'd have to hang around and wait for Emily to show up and initiate divorce proceedings. The most difficult thing was getting tested to determine if I was the biological father of my children. What if they aren't mine? I reared them all from the beginning. They were my family and my entire life. A knock came at my door about midnight. I just sat on the couch, thinking about my troubles. I put my 3 children to bed, hugging and kissing each one, wondering whether they were mine. Damn, I wanted to drink so badly. But after my liver operation, I wasn't permitted to for at least a year. A knock shocked me and I heard it again. I looked out and saw a cop. I opened the door. I'm Officer Bates from the Sheriff's Department. Are you Andrew Connors? Emily Connor's husband, the officer inquired. Yes, officer. This is me. What's happening here? I regret to inform you that your wife died in a car accident in rural Illinois. The Illinois Post Office has asked me to notify you of her death. I was shocked. Just a second. I despised her to the core and wanted to kill her. And now she had died. I could not believe what I'd just heard. I wanted to wake up, hoping that I was dreaming and that the last few days had been a bad dream. But this wasn't a dream. And I wasn't sleeping. What has happened? Officer? Are you certain it was her? Maybe there was an error. I continued to babble. I apologize, Mr. Connors. There can be no errors. They were killed in a vehicle accident. According to the account I received, their automobile ran off the road over an embankment and into a tree. The 2 passengers perished on the scene. You mentioned them. Sophia was the second person in the automobile. No, sir. That was Benjamin Carter. Did you know him? I was stunned. I assumed it was Emily and Sophia returning home early, but it wasn't. This meant she was still spending the day and evening with Benjamin. Even after speaking with me, I knew I had to answer the police. Yes, he was from the company's Chicago office. I haven't seen him in several years. What time did the accident occur? It's about 7 o'clock. Give or take a few minutes. It took us a time to acquire the necessary information and contact you. Again, Mr. Connors. I apologize. You were the one who had to report this, but we wanted you to be among the first to hear. If you call the Chicago Sheriff's Office tomorrow, they might be able to tell you more. Good night, sir. Thank you, officers, I said as I shut the door. In that moment, I went numb. I experienced hatred, lost love, disdain, and even dread. Fear over what to do next. I had 3 tiny children sleeping soundly, and tomorrow I had to inform them that their mother had been slain. I couldn't sleep and didn't want to phone anyone at this time of day. I knew tomorrow would be one of the worst days of my life. I needed to face reality. Emily had died, and I had 3 children to care for. That may not even be mine. I would not wish such predicament on anyone. I must have nodded asleep in my chair, and at 7 a.m. the phone woke me up. The caller ID read personal call. I responded, Mr. Andrew Connors. A voice spoke. Yes, that is him. Who is calling? Just a second, sir, a voice said. Then I heard the same female voice as yesterday. Mr. Connors, this is Senator Conroy. I mean Janice Conroy. Under these circumstances, I'd want to be addressed by my first name. I know you've been briefed about the accident. I'm deeply sorry for your loss, but I need to speak with you. I need a large favor. Mrs. Conroy, you also lost your husband. I know the scenario isn't going to be ideal for either of us. What kind of service do you require? Can you not bring up the affair between my husband and your wife? I know that sounds horrible, but it will jeopardize my political future. There's nothing I can do right now to improve the situation, but it'll ruin my life. So you want me to lie and claim it didn't happen? No, absolutely not. I simply do not want you to discuss this matter in the press. You'll receive a few calls. I can take care of it from here and let it go gently. But I am sure someone will be looking for a story here. It won't be good for any of us. Mrs. Conroy, I will not intervene in your personal affairs if you will do 2 things for me. What do you want? I will do it if I can. I'd want to hear a true account of this accident, the one that high-ranking officials are hiding. I also need a copy of Benjamin's DNA. Do you know what that is for? I will do my best. I'll be expecting him soon after the burial. Please don't mistake me for some sort of swagger. I want to know. No, I must know the truth at any costs. I will get you whatever you want. I only hope you will fulfill your word and keep the affair a secret. I always honor my promises, Janice. Always good. Then I will provide you the reports as soon as feasible. Thank you. I hung up the phone and made some coffee. I knew it was early, but I called Olivia and informed her of the accident. It surprised her. But she promised to come over immediately away. My parents were always up early, so I told them about it too. Now for the difficult part. I contacted Emily's mother and father. Her father answered the phone, and I told him the awful news. I explained as best I could, telling him that she and Benjamin had just gone out to dinner, and Benjamin was driving her to the hotel when the accident occurred. They asked me to keep in touch with them, and of course, I agreed. My children got up. I made their breakfast. And when Olivia arrived, we took the 3 kids into the living room and told them the extremely terrible news. Chloe, Madison, you're going to have to be quite brave. Mom is dead and she is not returning home. Tears welled up in their eyes, and they began crying. Of course, when little Michael saw his sister crying, he started crying as well. It was the most difficult thing. Watch my kids weep. I hugged each of them and let them to cry. I tried to be tough for them, but I was crying too. I held the girls, while Olivia held Michael. We tried our best to answer their questions. Olivia heard a knock on the door and shouted out, "Come inside." It was Mel. I'm so sorry to hear what occurred. She and Elizabeth were both crying. Madison rushed over to Mel and crawled onto her lap, while Mel sat down and softly rocked my youngest daughter. Elizabeth stands next to her mother. How did you know? I asked Mel. Olivia spoke up. I called her after you had called me. I hope you do not mind. Of course not. I was just astonished when the kids settled down a little. Elizabeth offered to take them to their own rooms and play games with them. It was a godsend because the phone rang immediately after they had departed for their room. It was journalists. And reporters. They each stated the same thing. We have a few inquiries. I became enraged and began hanging up the phone. Olivia claimed she had handled the phone calls. She spoke to the next reporter. Look, I'm not sure why your press guys keep pestering us. My brother recently lost his wife and is raising 3 young children. We are not celebrities and would prefer some privacy. I do not care if Benjamin Carter is married to an out-of-state politician. This has nothing to do with us. Why don't you bother? If you believe it is newsworthy, bother her. We switched on the television and saw a report. A local woman was slain in Chicago last night. She was accompanying the husband of State Senator Janice Conroy. Senator Conroy stated that the woman who won, Emily Connors from Ohio, was a Benjamin Carter associate and they had just returned from dinner. Earlier in the evening, she informed her husband that she would be unable to join them. She is deeply devastated by her husband's death and has expressed condolences to Mr. Connors and his family in Ohio. We will provide updates on this story as they become available. We knew why we received the call. I suppose we should prepare a tale for those idiot reporters and keep telling them the same thing until they stop asking. I will take the next call. Olivia. I said hello. Yes, this is Andrew Connors. Look, I do not comprehend all of these calls. I will just tell you what I know. Benjamin Carter and Emily, my wife, work for the same travel business but in different states. They have regular meetings to discuss trip opportunities. They had just finished supper and were on their way back to her home when the accident occurred. The man continued to ask questions. Yes, I spoke with my wife that morning and knew she was going out to dinner. They had been pals since high school. I knew Benjamin personally. We all attended high school together. It was a horrible accident, and she will be deeply missed by myself and our 3 children. If you have any further queries, I recommend contacting your senator. Following that, I hung up. Olivia and I took turns answering the silly phone. We knew they would keep calling until we told them anything. The phone was ringing off the hook. It was a good thing Olivia phoned Mel. It would have been difficult to keep an eye on the kids while answering the phone and answering the door all the time. We received numerous calls from anxious neighbors and friends. They were difficult enough to cope with, let alone others. As if we don't already have enough difficulties. Lawyer after lawyer contacted and asked whether we would represent them in the case of a lawsuit. We basically told them to go to hell and that we would not sue anyone. We wouldn't want to be represented by an ambulance chaser lawyer. At the end of the day, the call subsided slightly. Mel made us all lunch. The neighbors contributed food, and Mel prepared everything for us. I seldom spoke to her, but I was grateful she was present. It's strange when someone in your family dies. Many people bring you food when you're not hungry. At least we didn't have to cook anything. There was a knock on the door, and I believed it was another neighbor, but it was actually a TV reporter. Mr. Connors. Could I have a word with you? Said the woman holding the microphone, followed by the cameraman. Who in the heck do you think you are? You came to my goddamn house the day after I lost my wife. And for what? For some damn rumor. There's no need to swear, Mr. Connors. It's for TV. To hell with your goddamn TV. I've lost my wife. My 3 young children lost their mother, and all you can think about is the news. Perhaps you can take images of her body strewn across the awful highway and gain 1 or 2 more readers. You make me sick. Mr. Connors, we only want to know the truth. No, you do not. You need a damn lie to sell to your audience. I will tell you the truth and see whether you are happy with it. My wife and Benjamin were high school buddies many years ago. Mr. Connors, were they lovers? Lovers? They were 16-year-old children. Do you consider them to be lovers? You are just a sick dude. My wife and I are married. We have 3 kids aged 2, 4, and 6. She works full-time in a travel agency. When did she have time to conduct a passionate affair with an ex-boyfriend, 2 states away? But was she with him? Yes. They had a business meeting in Chicago and went out to supper. Many old pals eat dinner together. I talked with her the day before. And if you were watching TV at home, you would have heard that Senator Conroy was going to join them for dinner. All you want is to spread gossip and ruin people's lives. At the time, tiny Michael was peeping out the storm door. Look through the door at my son. Tell him you believe his mother is a whore. All she wanted was an affair with her ex-boyfriend. Tell my small son that his mother did not love him. She couldn't stop thinking about having sex with another woman's spouse. I wanted to say, screw it, but I didn't want to offend the children outside the door. I did not. You detest me. I have previously stated that I would not want this predicament on my worst enemy. But in your instance I may make an exception. You can live with a reporter tearing your life apart with lies and allegations. One final thing. If I hear one untruth about my wife or family on your news network, you can expect me to sue both you and your network. You were not invited here and no celebrities live here. Now, get off my property. When I returned to the house, I took up my son and held him, and he hugged back. Olivia smiled at me. She knew. I hadn't told the whole truth, but maybe the reporters didn't notice that everything seemed to quiet down after that. Olivia and Mel were discussing arrangements when the youngsters resumed playing in the room. They were scheduled to transport Teresa's body within the next 2 days, and we wanted the funeral to take place as soon as possible. The women indicated they would take care of the arrangements, which suited me perfectly. I was at a loss when it came to such matters. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out I peered into the room where the girls were playing. Madison and Elizabeth were talking, and I overheard. I miss my mother. I understand how you feel. I miss my daddy. Well, his name was Alexander. He was not my true father, but I miss him. He was always present for me. Why did he abandon you? Madison asked. Because he was not my true father. Dads shouldn't abandon their little daughters. It's not polite, Madison responded. It's okay. I now have another daddy. And this is my true father. He's also your daddy, Madison. Do you suppose your mother will be my mother as well, because we share a father? Why can't we have the same mother? When I heard my small girl say those words, tears welled up in my eyes. I did not want them to know I was listening. Tell me what, Ash. You talk to Dad, I will talk to Mom, and we'll see what happens. Regardless of what happens, I will always be your big sister. You can always come to me. I saw Elizabeth cuddle Madison for the following few days. The calls had pretty nearly stopped. A news reporter that came to our house only presented the positive aspects of our chat about Emily being a fantastic wife and mother. I suppose the TV station didn't want to face a libel claim. There was also a news report about a high-profile divorce between a Hollywood couple. Our accident case was old news. Olivia and Mel did an excellent job handling the funeral arrangements. We placed Emily to rest one night and buried her the next day. I couldn't believe how many people turned up. Olivia and I stood beside the casket, greeting those who came to pay their respects. Mel sat on a couch to the side with her 4 children. She wanted to remain on the sidelines. Every time I looked at her, she was holding another youngster on her lap. They were crying 1 minute and laughing the next. Every now and then, one of them would walk over and stand behind me as we paid our final respects to Emily before closing her casket. We all cried, so sad and yet so funny at the same time. She could have had a beautiful life, but she was seeking better pastures. Mel urged her church to provide a luncheon for everyone who attended the funeral. It was a fantastic lunch, and we got one final chance to chat with many of our friends. I even thanked Sophia and Ethan for attending. I spoke with Sophia for a long, telling her that I hoped she had learned her lesson from Emily's death. She had a terrific man, and she should do everything she can to save their marriage. She gave me a hug and thanked me for preserving our secret. I sincerely hope she learns from Emily's error. In the days after, Mel and Olivia inquired what Emily's belongings we wanted to preserve. I responded that I did not have any suggestions. I instructed them to give all of the jewelry and souvenirs to the daughters. They saved the most of it for later use, but left some for the girls to play with as children. Mel complimented Emily's clothing. I told her she could keep them and wear whatever she wanted, because they were a similar size. If looks could kill sweet, Mel would have killed me right now. Olivia started laughing. You are a really foolish dude. You wish to gift your deceased wives things to your former girlfriend? I do not think so, little brother. She claimed they were nice. I was only trying to be accommodating and give her what she wanted. Women. I will never comprehend them. What to do with them? Olivia gazed at Mel as if I wasn't there. Let's hold a garage sale and sell all of the clothes. They should offer a reasonable pricing. That was the next thing they planned to do. The phone rang, and when I hung up, I heard a familiar voice. I asked the girls if they could take the kids to the park or anywhere else for a few hours. I had someone coming over and we both needed some alone time. I promised them I'd explain everything later as they departed. There was a knock at the door. It was Senator Janice Conroy and her driver. Please come inside. I have been awaiting you. She requested her driver to step onto the porch and entered the house. I was astonished by her appearance. She was a lovely-looking woman, although she was probably in her 60s. I didn't think she was so old because Zach was my age. Mr. Connors, I was in Columbus, Ohio on state business and decided to take advantage of the brief journey to supply you with the information you requested. She handed me a manila envelope that she said included an unofficial accident report and Zach's DNA card. Would you like some coffee, Mrs. Conroy? Please call me Janice today, and a cup of coffee would be welcome. Just a little cream, please. I'd like to thank you for being so courteous in telling me about the affair. It wouldn't have done any good if the truth had been revealed. The insurance company contacted and requested me to speak with you about settling the situation. Janice, I do not want your money. I simply want this to be ended so my family and I can move on with our lives. Michael, you will receive calls from dozens of lawyers promising millions of dollars if you contact their firm. The truth is a case can remain open for years while investigators delve further and deeper into it. That is not something that the insurance company or I want to happen. They have offered you an offer. If you accept, the case will be closed. You won't be disturbed anymore because the lawsuit has been settled. What is this offer you're talking about? Is this your money? As I already stated, I simply want it to be finished. The money belongs to the insurance company. They will give you $100,000 for each of your children and deposit money in a trust account. The funds will be distributed once they reach the age of 18 and you will serve as the account's custodian. The children will only receive money at their instruction until they reach the age of 25. Then they will be able to administer their own accounts. Why are they offering this money? Was there an offense? No, it's just that everyone is preoccupied with the courts right now. It's easier to sue someone than to hunt for work. This will simply close the account. They will also pay for all medical expenditures resulting from the accident, hospital bills, ambulance fees, and other charges. So you'll receive $300,000. Plus medical payments. That's more than 400,000 medical records. I have 4 kids, not 3. My second daughter lives with her mother. But if I agree, she should have her portion as well. I apologize. I had no idea about that. I will make sure you have enough for all for children. So if we are finished, I would like Janice. This could be the only time I see you. Can you explain me about you and Benjamin and why you let it continue after you found out? I believe so. You deserve to know. When did I meet Benjamin? He was attending college. He was a harsh, gruff individual. I was requested to teach a political science class and we got friendly. As you can see, I am 25 years older than Benjamin. At first, it was enjoyable to be with a young man and teach him about love. I know you've heard of trophy wives. Well, Benjamin was my trophy husband. I had this lovely hunk with me at all my parties. Benjamin first enjoyed being the center of attention. But when he realized it was about me rather than him, he felt uncomfortable. He asked that I buy him a travel agency. I purchased and owned it. He used to run it. He enrolled in travel-related courses since he needed to specialize. Why didn't he just divorce you and go about his business? Money and power. I had both. He possessed neither. I gave him whatever he wanted, within reason. There was nothing in his name. Not even the automobile he crashed. If he had abandoned me at any time, he would have nothing left. People were accustomed to the life he led. He met your wife at one of the conferences. Approximately 7 years ago. I discovered they were together a few years later and issued an ultimatum to him. Either he stops playing games, especially with a married woman, or I will make sure he never does it again. He appeared to have stopped or at least concealed it successfully. Until I heard from you. For your information, he had additional mistresses. Most of them may be bribed or scared away. I wasn't sure how to approach your wife because he only seemed to see her every few years. What will the report reveal to me? I am convinced that it was not fair play. According to unofficial sources, Benjamin's stick was chewed off. The witness stated that the black SUV struck Benjamin's vehicle in the rear quarter, causing it to spin out of control. It then soared over an embankment, flipped several times, and came to a halt on a tree. According to the official report, the witness was well behind the other vehicles and did not know if he had been hit by the SUV. Janice, did you kill them? Personally, I do not. There are forces above me, and I cannot speak for them, nor do I wish to know. I loved Benjamin in my own way. In a way. He was my boy toy, and he was enjoyable to be around. Well, Andrew Connors, this may be our last conversation. The names have been deleted from the report, so if it comes into the wrong hands, it will be protected once more. I apologize for your loss, and we will deliver the insurance documentation to you tomorrow. Thank you for being considerate. After Janice left, I opened the envelope to find the report just as she had promised. Emily was truly a slut for Benjamin. I now understood where she acquired the various methods of making love and who she was thinking about at the time. It was not me. The other report had entire information regarding Benjamin's DNA, indicating that Janice had kept her word. I had to wonder if she had any involvement in the accident. Maybe I should never find out. When everyone returned, I informed the girls who my guest was. They were startled when I informed them who it was. I mentioned that we had reached an agreement and that the senator had taken the time to support her position. The girls requested to read the report. Are you sure you want to read this? I get you're a woman and inquisitive. But this is some pretty serious shit. You won't like what you read. Mal glanced at me. Michael, because I care about you, I'm going to forget about my curiosity. You can't take this journey through life alone. You must be able to share with someone if you have an urgent need to discuss anything. She smiled kindly at me afterwards. When they read the report, they were saddened, just like me. They hoped Emily would feel regret. After speaking with me this morning, I told them some of what Janice Conroy had said to me. My sister, Olivia, said, I know it's sad, but perhaps Emily's death was God's providence. Imagine how much terrible it would have been if the children had been at the center of everything. I knew she was correct. She stated it aloud. That was Olivia. She was never scared to voice her mind. After she left, I sat at my desk reading the report and looking at Benjamin's DNA. While Mel sat at the table next to me. What will you do with that? She pointed to Benjamin's DNA results. I have an appointment with the clinic tomorrow. Take tests to find out if Benjamin is the biological father. Do not do it, Michael. Don't do it for your own or your children's sakes. I need to know, Mel. I need to know why. Why is this so crucial now? Benjamin has died. Emily is no longer alive, and knowing this will provide no positive results. What if you aren't the biological father? What are you planning to do? Give up the children? Send them to an orphanage? Raise children with anger in your heart? Please, Michael, listen to me. You are their father. You have been there for each of them since the beginning. You birthed their infants and changed their soiled diapers. Most importantly, you've always been there for them. You were the one they called Daddy, not someone else. Do not let those thoughts into their minds and hearts. Please pledge to think about it, Michael. Think of your children. Okay? I will think about it tonight. If we leave, I'll stop by tomorrow. When we're finished. Mel gently kissed me on the lips. It felt great. She contacted Elizabeth and they returned home. I followed through on my pledge and considered the situation. The next day. It was mid-afternoon. I drove up to Mel's place. The youngsters jumped out of the car and dashed to her house. Elizabeth was at school, but Mel had allowed them to play in her room. Ronnie was due to attend school, but I had already cancelled her the day before. You did it, right? Mel muttered. I apologize, but I promised the kids. I responded. What? You did it for the children. What exactly are you talking about? I promised the kids that we would go to McDonald's for lunch, and I am keeping my promises. She smiled. So you did not follow through. Well, you know, something different than lunch. No. I pondered about what you had stated. They are and will always be my children. I hope to keep it that way. So what happens now? I sat on the couch and Mel came over to sit on my lap. We had never been closer than we were after the burial, aside from an occasional kiss. It was so pleasant to be with her. She was a beautiful woman. You will weep for a while. We will start dating. And then you'll ask me to marry you. I will say yes. We'll live happily ever after. Her face lit up with a gorgeous smile like if from a fairy tale. I smiled, too. What if I do not want to marry you? So what happens next? Then I will just live with you. I've already lost you once. This won't happen again. Besides, I've heard that babies can talk. They like me. You are aware of this, and I adore them. How about sex? Are you okay? I began laughing. Honey, it won't simply be sex with you. It is going to be love, and it is going to be fantastic. Mel was also laughing now. Elizabeth got home from school about that time. When she spotted Mel seated on my lap, she smiled. Elizabeth shouted at the other youngsters. Ronnie, Madison, and Michael, please come here fast. There's something you should see. Mel remained still. The youngsters came in. The final one, of course, was Michael. They grinned at Mel. Madison spoke first. Does this mean you'll be our mother? Since our mother died? Mel came over to Madison, crouched down, and hugged her. Tears streaming down her cheeks. Sweetheart, I would love to be your mother. Your other mother will always be present in your heart, and I shall be there to take care of you. Michael wanted a hug as too, so he approached Mel, who hugged the infant. Chloe came up to me. Daddy, when are you getting married, and where will we live? Well, honey, first I want to make sure your children want us to marry. Of course there is. Father. Such a dumb question. We already adore Mel and you're Elizabeth's father. We simply want to know where we are going to reside. Honey, I have not even asked Mel to marry me yet. So do it, Daddy. Do it now. All of the kids began yelling. Do it, Dad. Even little Michael. Mel nearly burst into tears as I chuckled. I approached her and took her hand while she stood up. I knelt in front of her and said, Mel, my children and I all love you. Will you be their mother and my wife? I need to purchase you a ring to make it official. I hadn't planned on doing it today, but I can't think of a better time or witnesses. Before I could finish, the children were already saying, Answer him, Mommy. Answer him. The strange thing is that the kid started calling her Mama before she answered. How much longer will I have to think about this, kids? After all, this is a major step. Mel smiled as she replied. Just a minute, Mom. Elizabeth responded. We know you've wanted this your entire life. Oops, there goes another secret. Elizabeth grinned back at me. Mel tried to appear serious, but she was not very good at it. Following considerable thinking, I decided to reply. Yes, I will marry you. Andrew Connors. The kids were hopping up and down, yelling. Kiss her, Daddy. Kiss her and seal the deal. I did, and it felt great. Kids, just so you know, we won't get married till later. We have a lot to do first, but we'll see each other almost daily. Mel said that she did not want to explain to her children about waiting after death, but she did tell them they may call her mother if they wished. After the kids returned to Elizabeth's room to play, I looked over and saw a happy Mel. She laughed. If we go on a date, will we have sex? If so, may we do it on our first date? I asked for you, honey, anytime you want. We do not even need a date. Saying that, she strolled over to the phone and dialed my sister, Olivia. What was that? I asked. Olivia is coming over to take the children to the movies. They wanted to see the children's film, Happy Feet, and Olivia will take them. Honey, I've got a question for you. Will you and I stay here and complete the bargain we made earlier? Before I could say anything, she summoned the children back to the room. Kids, Aunt Olivia and Uncle Ralph are on their way to take you all to Happy Feet. The youngsters began leaping up and down. Daddy and I have some things to do, but we will be here when you return. Be kind to Aunt Olivia and Uncle Ralph. Do you hear me? Yes. Elizabeth smiled and replied, we can all hear you. Olivia and Ralph arrived minutes later. Madison approached them as soon as they passed the doorway of the house. Mom and Dad are getting married and you can attend, but we don't know when it will happen. Olivia examined us. It's kind of unexpected, right? She grinned, indicating her approval. Rooney responds, yes, Dad proposed in front of all of us. It was fantastic. They kissed and did everything to finalize the arrangement. Ralph replied with a smile until he was bumped by Olivia's elbow. Well, congratulations, Olivia stated. We'd better take the kids to the movies so you can finish up any unfinished business. We'll get pizza on the way home, so you'll have approximately 3 hours. Hopefully you will be able to complete your business by then. Uncle Ralph, why are you laughing? Madison asked. I was just thinking about Dancing Penguin, which we are about to witness. It should be an excellent film. When they left, I pretended to be dumb and inquired about any outstanding tasks. Mel drew me into her bedroom. I've waited 11 years to hold you again. Please make love with me. Don't forget, we have a 3-hour workday. Honey, I will only need 3 minutes for the first round. We both began laughing as we undressed. We got through the Christmas holidays. We spent a long time together. We were a family, except we hadn't married yet and each lived in our own home. We tried to postpone our wedding as long as possible, but the kids insisted on it right away. Following the holidays, the children got together and requested if they may throw a big Valentine's Day celebration. Angie smiled. We started calling Angie like the kids did. We inquired how they chose Angie over Elizabeth, and they responded they already had Michael, their younger brother. So they chose Angie, which didn't disturb Elizabeth or us. Dad and the other 3 kids celebrate their birthdays during the week of Valentine's Day. Mine is in March, of course, but that's fine. We want you and Mom to marry. So we decided to have a large joint birthday wedding party for all of us. Since you and Mom don't need wedding gifts, guests can bring gifts for Chloe, Ash, and Michael, as well as for me, provided they don't mind me having them a month early. What say you? I'm just the talker in the group. All of us youngsters felt it was a fantastic concept. Melanie couldn't stop laughing. All of these kids had gotten together and were making arrangements for us. We believed Angie. Furthermore, the other kids were with her. and waiting for our response. The issue was how to proceed without upsetting their feelings. Angie, I know you and the others have put a lot of thinking into the planned party. I suppose we should ask your mother about it. I didn't know what to say to the youngsters. Just glancing at their expressions and seeing the optimism in their eyes was so sweet. I had to delegate the responsibility to Mel. Mel stared at me, then at the children's faces. She knew I'd dropped it in her lap. I tried not to stare at her as she looked for a response. Mel stated, I'm a little surprised at you kids. Having a large birthday celebration is one thing. It's okay that Daddy and I got married. However, expecting everyone to come to the celebration and bring you all gifts is incorrect. I thought we taught you to put others first. I am a little embarrassed that you exploited our wedding to give yourself things. The children bowed their tiny heads. Mel seemed to say the appropriate things to them. Chloe asked, Mom, if we turn down the presents, can we still have a birthday party? And you and Dad still get married? Mel glanced at me for assistance. I attempted to keep a straight face. Kids, your father has left it up to me. I agree to the birthday celebration. She then looked at me. I also agreed to the wedding. We will hold it as a family celebration. However, we will not ask our guests to bring you gifts. I got taken off guard. To be honest, I didn't expect her to consent to a family gathering. Mel was also full of surprises. The children were leaping up and down. They hugged Mel, then came over to hug me. Epilogue. We had a month and a half to finish everything. Mel took over much of the planning after I returned to work. Of course, Olivia was available to assist her. They became close pals. They had a deeper relationship than most sisters. The girls reserved a hall at the church, and because she was a member, she had no trouble locating a church and a preacher for the weekend closest to Valentine's Day. Our color scheme was red and white with plenty of hearts. Once again, the church women offered to cook dinner. We informed them we wanted to pay for all of the food, including the dessert. It was going to be a quiet wedding, with Jan as maid of honor and her husband Ralph as best man. We had 2 young attendants, a flower girl and a ring bearer. Guess who it was? I was wearing a lovely suit. Mel looked like an angel in her blue dress. When the music began, tears ran down my cheeks. First, down the aisle. My son was staggering down the aisle, carrying a ring tied to a pillow. He was followed by my daughter Elizabeth, who wore a blue outfit similar to Mel's. She was followed by Chloe, who was likewise dressed in blue. Madison was the next flower girl. The wedding march began, and Mel was escorted down the aisle by her father when she noticed the tears in my eyes. I knew she was experiencing the same sentiments. I'm not sure why, but I felt nervous. I had married the love of my life after years of conflict with my first wife. When the priest announced, "You may kiss the bride," and I heard the cheers, I realized the church was packed. As I looked around, I noticed many old friends and family members. Until that point, I had focused entirely on Mel. When we walked down the corridor, there was a giant billboard that said, "Congratulations to the Connors family on their recent marriage." A second read, "Happy birthday to Chloe, Madison, and Michael Jr., and happy birthday to Elizabeth, who won't have a birthday until March." When the children saw the flags, they were overjoyed. There was also a stack of birthday cards for everyone. When we sent out the invites, we stated that it was a combined birthday and wedding celebration. It was the most romantic Valentine's Day imaginable. We agreed to take the kids to Disney World for their honeymoon in June, when they would be out of school. We shared. The kids shared 2 double beds, and we received a twin bed. We played with the kids during the day and made love at night with the door shut. The kids could not comprehend why we were always exhausted. When we got home, John came in to meet us and said that she was expecting her first kid. We were quite thrilled for her and Ralph. We knew they'd tried, and we were overjoyed that it turned out. They had a son, and now he'll have a small companion for the next few years. We agreed to sell my house and relocate to Mel's. Both residences were large. historic, and well maintained. It was best to stay away from the items Emily had purchased. We had an auction and sold the majority of the furnishings and, of course, the house. The kids were quite happy. They all received new bedroom sets. The insurance payments arrived. And we deposited money into each of the children's individual accounts for the future. That was the last we heard about the accident. We learned that Senator Conroy had been re-elected. With a wide margin. Apparently, many sympathizers voted for him. It only shows how unpredictable life can be. But every now and then, if you hit it perfectly, you get a home run. That's how it was for us. I checked on the kids, but I kept Benjamin's information secure. Maybe someday, when I'm old enough, I'll have the confidence to do comparative testing. For the time being, it's enough for one of my children to rush up to me, embrace me tightly, and call me daddy to confirm that I made the correct decision. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe, if you haven't already. Also, write a comment below with your thoughts on what transpired. Take care.